Welcome to the Player Attack summer season, thanks to Wargaming. We're taking a few weeks off to relax, go outside, enjoy the sunshine. Wait, who am I kidding? We're going to be playing our way through a whole stack of video games. Player Attack will be back in 2014. We've already got some exciting things in store, so stay tuned. We will still be updating playerattack.com throughout the holiday season, as well as hanging around on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can drop us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, if you've got something to say. In the meantime, why don't you take a little while to catch up on some of the Player Attack highlights from the past year as we revisit some of our favourite clips.
I have no memory of how I got here, or who I am. Yet something comes back to me. I was great once. Feared. Yes. No, I remember. So weak now. Must find blood.
We are especially excited about the possibility we are giving to players to play as Dracula, something that has never happened in the Castlevania franchise in the past. So for us, what is more important is to allow players to play and to feel the power of Dracula. You know, Dracula has always been in Castlevania, but it was just the final boss, someone to fight at the end of the games. For once, we wanted to tell the story of Dracula in first person. Not in first person literally, but, you know, talking about the story, talking about his motivations, talking about how he became that monster. The First Lost Shadow was the first part of that story. We started with Gabriel Belmont in a world that was not very dark. But now, in Lost Shadow 2, the game is completely dark because we are talking about Dracula. We are telling his story. We are talking about his inner demons.
God is with me, monster.
Let's put it this way, Lost Shadow 1 ends in the present day when Zobek, the arch enemy of Gabriel, offers to Gabriel himself, which is now Dracula, a deal. He offers the deal of ending his immortal life if he helps him to stop Satan again. And that's all I can say about it. The rest of the game will happen in one single night in present day, and you'll be always visiting Dracula's castle. But I'm not going to elaborate any further because I would be spoiling things, and I don't want to do that. Lost Shadow 2 is the end of the story we wanted to tell about Dracula. We knew that from the beginning. In Lost Shadow 1, we started with Gabriel Belmont. At the end of the game, Gabriel becomes Dracula, or we realize he will become Dracula 1,000 years in the future. Then in Mirror of Fate, we went in a slightly different way, telling the story of Dracula descendants. And in Lost Shadow 2, all that will tie up together and will make final sense. And from that point, I mean, we're done with the franchise because basically we wanted to tell the story we told the story we wanted to tell. So for us, it's over. And Castlevania, of course, will survive. Will be more games, and but not with us.
Once I was strong, powerful beyond measure, beyond imagining. It's been an age since I last fed. But I will return. I will live again. I will have my vengeance. Nothing will stand in my way. They will pay. Even if it takes an eternity, they will pay. For I am the dragon, Dracul. I am the Prince of Darkness. That is my vengeance.
Roll out. World of Tanks. Play for free at tanks.asia.
blistering Bildra.
Surprise! Ah!
Oops.
Oh, man.
Now, when we checked it out earlier, we knew about we knew about 4 playsets that were coming. We knew about the 3 in the starter pack, and we knew about cars. Today, we've had a closer look at Monsters University, which is looking pretty exciting, but we also got to see one brand new one announced this week. It was the Lone Ranger playset.
Yes.
Can you shed a bit of light on that one?
So we had found out a few years ago that Jerry and Gore Verbinski, who's of course the amazing team that brought you the original trilogy of Pirates of the Caribbean, were working on a huge summer blockbuster. And with Infinity being a platform for all things Disney, we of course reached out to them and said, would it be okay and would you be interested in potentially having your awesome new movie represented inside of Infinity? And they were much obliged, and so we began working on it. The good news is that with kids, Lone Ranger, despite them having absolutely no knowledge of what this film is testing off the charts. Cowboys, Indians, horses, trains, the Old West, who knew? It's awesome though, and it's so great to be able to collaborate with them on that experience and then also deliver something brand new and exciting for kids.
It is from a more adult title than some of the other ones. I mean, we saw it today compared to Monsters University, which is admittedly targeted somewhat younger. What are some of the challenges that you guys in the developer studio have had to face trying to combine these two very different games?
That's an interesting question. I think that, the one thing that we wanted to do with Infinity is make sure every single playset really felt different. So we didn't want, you have the starter pack and you've got Pirates of the Caribbean, Incredibles, and Monsters University. Every one of those offers a totally different gameplay experience. In Monsters, you've got scaring and you've got pranks. And in Pirates, you've got sword combat and you've got ship sailing. And in Incredibles, of course, it's kind of like I almost say it's like Crackdown with, superheroes, right? Because you have the Incredibles in there and you've got Syndrome. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is that we wanted to make sure every one of these playsets wasn't just, okay, here's a gameplay thing, let's slap a Disney logo on it. It was instead, we wanted to deliver new mechanics for every single one of them. So with that in mind, when we started working on the Lone Ranger, we began thinking, so what are the core tenets of this property? What are Jerry and Gore trying to do to make this something totally unique and different for Disney? And then how do those translate into actual gameplay mechanics? So one of the cool things that we have in the Lone Ranger playset is this ricochet gunplay that we have. So essentially, as you probably know, Lone Ranger fights justice in a very, very stand-up and true kind of way, and we wanted to make sure that we delivered something similar to that. So inside of the gameplay itself, Lone Ranger actually has the ability to ricochet off of different objects in the environment to knock weapons out of enemies' hands, and that's how he goes about incapacitating them. So that's kind of an interesting way to do it. The thing that's important, though, is also our art style. We wanted to make sure that the art style was done in such a way that it made sense for all these characters to come together. And that's where Infinity's really unique art style, where it's kind of this toyetic version of the characters, comes to play. And so that's kind of just a little bit, just scratching the surface of how that works. We wanted to make sure that these play sets specifically delivered brand new and original stories. We wanted to make sure they had new and unique gameplay mechanics so that when you went out and buy them, you actually feel like you're getting value rather than just here's a new level. But then from a true to property experience, the thing is this. Disney is a huge entertainment company and has some really popular characters, but most importantly has rabid fans. And so we wanted to make sure that when we would go out and deliver a playset experience that's based on Monsters University, that was for fans of Monsters. And for Incredibles, it would be for fans of Incredibles. So it would be awkward to have all of a sudden Mike Wazowski inside of this really cool, awesome, intense story happening inside of the Incredibles world, suddenly jump in there on a hoverboard and goof around. I mean, a lot of people think that would be fun, and true it would be, but for fans, we wanted to make sure the playsets delivered a true story that they could enjoy. Now in the toy box mode, it's no holds barred. I mean, that's where Mike Wazowski can get on a hoverboard and fight crime with Mr. Incredible if he wants to. And since it's all user-generated content, it's up to the players to decide what they want to do.
Are you guys all still messing around with the toy box back behind the scenes and coming up with some crazy interpretations of what can be done with the technology?
Yeah, I actually, the other day when I was at Avalanche, I saw someone had actually recreated Spy Hunter, the old 80s arcade game. So It was awesome. It's because you can adjust the camera as well inside of the toy box mode. And so he actually laid down a whole bunch of pieces of tracks from cars. Then he took Lightning McQueen, put Lightning McQueen down, and then adjusted the camera to be bird's eye view, and then actually drove and had a whole entire gameplay experience like that. And that's just one of them. I've seen Mario 1-1. I mean, the stuff that our QA guys and the guys at Avalanche make on their downtime is hysterical. And I'm so excited to unleash these tools out there and see what people come up with. I mean, that's what we're just so excited about that.
How many copies of this game do you think parents are going to buy for their kids and then pinch and then use them completely in sandbox mode?
Well, that would be awesome. I mean, we are primarily intended to be a game for kids, but we kind of use the Pixar mantra ourselves. We want to make a game that's good enough for us, but also accessible for kids. And so in that regard, we look at games that deliver great gameplay experiences, like the 3D Mario games, like Ratchet and Clank, even some of the Lego games. We look at those as games that we really think deliver great gameplay experiences, and we want to make sure that we deliver totally top quality experiences with Infinity.
That should do it.
While I was gone, they set the world on fire. It wasn't a war anymore. It was a remake.
Ah, BJ Blazkowicz, my old friend, it's good to see you again. A smart-talking, Nazi-killing machine, Blazkowicz is a bit of a Duke Nukem character. Loud, brash, American, an unrepentant action hero, but a bit less obnoxious than the Duke. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a reboot of a real classic developed by Machine Games who, as massive fans of the original, really want to pay their respects. Gamers of my vintage will remember Wolfenstein 3D as the granddaddy of first-person shooters. Developed by id Software of Doom fame and published in 1992, it brought the genre to the PC and really initiated the whole shooter thing that's now resulted in COD and Battlefield, etc. Screenshots of Wolfenstein 3D make it look rather blocky and dated, but the 3D perspective, weapon systems, action gameplay and pure adrenaline rush of mowing down rows of Nazis, those eternal villains, had a huge influence on gaming. Back to the present, Blazkowicz has been in a very inconvenient coma for 15 years and has missed the fact that the Nazis won World War II and brought the free world to its knees. No doubt because he was in a coma and unable to stop them. The world of the New Order is recognisably 1950s, but with an alternative history bent. Iconic London landmarks and the White House are draped in swastikas, and hulking steel robots, the tools of the Nazi victory, roam the streets enforcing order. This is much like the 2012 film Iron Sky, where the Nazis return from their base on the dark side of the moon to attack an unsuspecting modern-day Earth. At E3 we played through two sequences. The first placed us in a moving train carriage making coffee before being accosted by a mature Fraulein and her companion, who was later introduced to us as her Freudian psychosexual toy boy. The nudge-nudge wink-wink innuendo from the Duke Nukem era of games has obviously not been lost. A massive iron robot looms in the background, reminding us of the coercive power behind the regime. This grim officer forces on us a life or death test to prove our Aryan heritage, showing that the dark ideology of the Nazis has now become the status quo in civilized society and giving us further motivation to fight the power. Having survived the test, we return to our cabin to rejoin our lady friend, who we assume will take an important role in the story. Here then, we can see a lot more effort put into developing character and narrative than we might expect, and the developers have promised us more richness and depth in this new Wolfenstein. In the second gameplay sequence, we have an opportunity to sample the action of the New Order. There are strong retro gameplay mechanics at work here. Alcoves off to the side provide ammo and health, and you have a concrete health bar, so hiding behind cover is not enough to regenerate. You have to actually not get shot in the first place. What a concept. This was surprisingly challenging, but ultimately a welcome change from the ubiquitous hide and revive mechanic we see everywhere today. The action is dynamic and fast-paced. Enemy AI is surprisingly sophisticated, and it takes some real skill to get through alive. When you finally do make it to the big heavy robot, there's definitely a lot of challenge in the fight. They're tough, they're armed to the teeth, and they inspire a huge celebration when they finally go down. All up, the experience is quite challenging. It's clear that players will have to hone their skills in a different style of shooter gameplay. The weapons throughout the game suit the retro-futuristic aesthetic perfectly. With red splashes of laser and bright plasma bursts, it's exactly as you'd expect. Even better, every weapon in the game can be dual-wielded, adding to the feeling of being some kind of super soldier, heaven sent to take down nasty Nazis. I can never get enough of dual wielding just for pure fun, and this game has it in spades. All up, I'm really looking forward to this title, despite the release date being pushed back to 2014. But at least it'll be available on both current generation and the new generation of consoles. It has enough newness to feel like a modern game, and younger players will be able to approach it afresh, but it also has enough nods to the first generation of PC shooters to kindle some nostalgia. It's walking a tightrope between B-grade schlock humour and some more serious historical and moral themes, but if we can get that balance right, then we're in for a real treat. If you're after the joy of pure run and gun gameplay and the thrill of taking down the worst villains history has to offer, it looks like Wolfenstein: The New Order is about to deliver.
Roll out. World of Tanks. Play for free at tanks.asia.
The Black Mask, currently the #1 Gotham crime lord, has placed a price of $50 million on the Batman's head. And what that means is it's brought 8 of the greatest assassins of the DC universe to come and compete for that prize.
8 assassins after your head. What are you going to do?
I'm going to find Black Mask and put an end to this.
I hope we have a story that not only conveys the emotion of these events, but also really feels like all the puzzle pieces of Batman's universe clicking together. Because at the start of our story, I'll give you an example. Captain James Gordon, he is not the police commissioner at this point in the story. He's a police captain. He doesn't have the trust of the department. The various cops of the GCPD, which is a very corrupt department, consider him to be kind of an outlier because he doesn't take bribes, he doesn't hang out with them, he doesn't play by the rules. He actually wants to enforce the law. Well, he's actually actively hunting the Batman at the start of our story. He's the head of a vigilante task force. And so you know where they're going to end up. You've seen the other games, you know that eventually James Gordon and Batman are going to be great friends. But at this point in time, they're not.
I'm on your side.
My side? My side works within the law. We've earned Gotham's respect.
If that were true, I wouldn't be here.
Gordon, clear the line of fire! You've got nowhere to run.
Do you have a favorite Batman story?
Oh, a favorite Batman story? That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. That's like saying choose only one of your children and make it your favorite, right? Like, you can't do that. There are different stories which are great for different reasons, but one of the things that really drew us to the prequel space was, for me, that I really liked the vibe of the original Legends of the Dark Knight series when it came out. It came out hot on the tails of Year One, when Year One came out, and then there was a wave of people going back and revisiting, this is in the 80s, right, the late 80s, who were revisiting the roots of where these characters came from and exploring them through more contemporary lenses, I suppose, right? Stories like Emerald Dawn for Green Lantern, and Year One for Batman was really kind of the spark that lit that fire. So Legends of the Dark Knight was a continuation of that, exploring not just Year One, but more like, it's all kind of in Year Two. He's always expected to meet Dick Grayson in Year Three and start to adopt him and get him as his ward and then bring him up to be Robin. So Year Two is this kind of rich, vibrant space for a solo Batman who doesn't know a lot about himself, who doesn't know a lot about the characters in his world, but he gets to meet these characters for the first time, just like in the Legends of the Dark Knight comic book, and we get to have these pivotal events that take place where Batman can be inexperienced enough, he's still very skilled, but he's not experienced enough to make mistakes, and then have to learn from those mistakes and adapt and evolve and change.
You're a young man with a trust fund and too much anger.
I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises.
Batman's had a whole bunch of gadgets throughout these sort of games. Has he got anything new or anything that we haven't seen before that you can talk about?
Absolutely. We have a few new gadgets we've shown for the game. I don't think we've shown everything on the PR campaign yet, but probably the one that's been the biggest success, the one people are most excited about so far, has been the remote claw. So if you've seen the other games, you'll have seen that Batman has a gadget called the Bat Claw, and it's kind of like a pistol with a big claw on the end which you can shoot out The claw will go out on a cable, it attaches to targets, and you can use that to pull objects or enemies towards them. You can do fight moves, you can use it to access vents and the like. You can use it to pick up objects. Well, we kind of have the big cousin of the back claw in Arkham Origins, which is called the remote claw. And what that is it's more of a kind of a carbine form factor device, and it's got a big heavy projectile that it launches out the front, and that's kind of like a back claw in itself. So he shoots at a target, the projectile shoots out, hits that target, and then a cable with a claw shoots out the back of that and hits another target. It's a very versatile gadget that we can use to combine with the different elements of gameplay, and it's kind of fun. It's got a little bit of player creativity to it. It lets the player really change the Predator rooms too, when Batman's fighting a lot of gunmen and he's moving from gargoyle to gargoyle, because he can build a big strip of gargoyle basically between two of them by building that tightrope and then doing takedowns off the tightrope.
Gotham isn't a city anymore. It's a battleground. And whoever controls the most turf is going to rule this whole town.
Who is Batman's greatest enemy? Who is the one person you think is actually going to take Batman down?
Well, there's two questions there. Who is his greatest enemy? His greatest enemy is Joe Chill, because he'll never get to beat him. He'll never actually be able to stop the bullets that killed his parents, and that's the thing he's always trying to do at the back of his mind. It's the one fight he can never win, and it's the one wound that he can never heal from. So I think that's his greatest enemy, and I think that's the thing that drives him and created him. The other question was, who's going to take him down? Who's going to take Batman down? That's a trick question, because Batman can't be taken down.
And that's about it for this week's Player Attack. Thanks for watching. We will have new content for you in February, but in the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till we revisit some more favourite content next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.